everyone, this is Treasure Reef, and my name is Dmitry Tumanov. I've been running this channel for a few years, and it's one of those times where I get to answer some of your questions. Thank you all for your comments, and I get asked a lot about my lighting setup, the intensity, which is the PAR reading on the tank, as well as the color spectrum. Some of you may know that I've been featured in the Signature series for aqua illumination. So if you Google Signature series aqua illumination, you will see and will be able to download the exact color spectrum schedule for the light that I use, which is aqua illumination Hydra 52 HD. I've used this lighting for over 3 years on 2 different tanks. So first I started off with the Practical Reef. Now I'm using the Treasure Reef lighting over here with 4 lights, lighting this quite large 130-ish gallon aquarium. It's a 5-foot aquarium, 26 inches front to back, and it's 24 inches high. It's a water box system. I've had it set up for about 4 months now, and I must say that finally I can see that the colors are starting to get to the point where I want them to be in terms of the coral coloration. First I want to talk about the lighting that I have and the reasons for choosing it. So I've been using aqua illumination on 2 of my main display tanks, but I've also had a lot of experience with the Ecotech Radiance, which I've been running on another system. And a lot of times I was able to compare the two, and while most of the coral lighting is quite similar, and is more importantly the coral coloration, so the actual pigments of the coral are very similar between the 2 lights. What I find, just aesthetically, I find the Hydras a little bit more pleasing. To me it looks a little bit more like an actual metal halide. So I find that the Radiance have a little bit more of a purplish tint, whereas the Hydras give me a bit more of the teal or kind of aquamarine color, which I personally enjoy more. As I've mentioned, you can download my color spectrum, but I primarily try to crank up all of the blue channels, so UV and the blues all the way to 100, and then I increase the white, green and reds in kind of the same proportion. Maybe the white would get a little bit more, but overall I just add maybe 5-10% of each, and I try to make sure that I like what I see aesthetically. But even then, I would only use this lighting, which is non-blue, for the times when I'm at home and when I'm most likely going to be enjoying the tank. So predominantly my tank is running all blues for around 8 hours, and then 1 extra hour of all blues plus some white, red and green mixed in. So this way I get to enjoy the tank and see the real colors of the fish, but most of the time the corals are being blasted with just pure blue and UV LED lighting. So I found that this schedule is quite safe for corals. It doesn't aggravate corals, and you can get away with maybe more intensity or less intensity, and the corals are more forgiving of the just pure blue light. In terms of the actual intensity or PAR readings, I've always tried to go for about 200 PAR. As you can see, my tank is predominantly quite level, so there's not that many levels to the aquascape. There is definitely all hard corals are kind of in the lower 1/3 of the tank, and then I do have some LPS and softies that are at the bottom. So when I talk about PAR of being around 200. I primarily target the lower 1/3 or about here of the tank. So this way all of the SPS get more or less the same par. And I've always picked a number around 200 as a starting point, would run it on the tank for maybe 3-4 days, and then I would observe the results. If I see that the corals are starting to bleach or lose color, then I will lower the intensity. And if I see that the corals are starting to get a little bit more on the brown side, then I will start increasing the intensity. But you can always, if you start with the 200, then even if you have corals that have more light, you can get away with lower light for quite a long period of time before it gets dangerous for corals or they start to really lose color. But you cannot do it the other way. So if your coloration is starting to get washed out, you only have a few days before you're going to start losing your corals. Your coloration will also depend a lot on nutrients. So if you have a lower nutrient system, or if this is a brand new system, then you would want to use a lot lower par to start with. So I've actually had been running several systems that had identical lighting, and I would take the same coral and I would, let's say if this was my 3-year-old system, I would pick up the coral and I'd put it in the other tank that has exactly the same Ecotech Radiant on it, but this tank is only a month old, and there's just not enough bacteria, not enough nutrients, not enough microorganisms, and the coral would almost immediately start to lose color. It will just basically start to get bleached, even though the actual water parameters were very similar. So to me that tells me that there's just not enough there's not enough food in the tank, and that's one of the reasons why the coral just cannot withstand as much light. Also, if you run more nutrient-rich system, you can get away with a higher par, and if you have higher alkalinity, you usually can get away with more light. One final thing I would say is you pick a lighting schedule that's kind of safe and you stick to it for at least 2-3 weeks, meaning you don't change anything else, but you measure your alkalinity on a regular basis, almost daily. So basically anytime I change anything in the tank, I will check my alkalinity on that day and on a few subsequent days, and I see if my alkalinity starts to drop. That means that the corals are basically probably getting more light and they are going after the alkalinity, they're consuming it. So you want to either start dosing more alkalinity to make up for it, or you may want to lower the light if this might be too much light in your case. So today I just tried to answer one particular topic. More importantly, this is probably the second in-person video that I'm doing. Please let me know your thoughts below on how I did. What other topics you want me to talk about? You want a longer video, a shorter video, maybe a particular part of the system you want me to talk about. There's lots of topics I can pull from. There's lots of different tanks I can also talk about, but for now we'll start with this. So obviously like the video, press the subscribe button if that is of interest to you, and I'll see you in the next video. So thank you.